Clive, let's start with supply. I mean, it was very interesting last week. We had the summit with the Chancellor, the Business Secretary, the Prime Minister, the boss of E.ON, the boss of Ofgem, a sort of 15 or 16-point resume of the meeting. The only thing it said about supply was we encourage long-term investment in the North Sea. Sir Keir today, yes, he's talked about pricing, and perhaps we'll go into that. Is anybody in Westminster worried that the lights might go out?
Well, if we were to believe some comments, yes, but it's not being taken, I don't think, seriously enough. I mean, if you just take a step back, what is the role of government in energy policy? What should it be? And it's a question that politicians keep avoiding. And I would say it's not about controlling production and controlling prices. What it's about is creating a framework within which the market can deliver both reliable supply and also affordable prices. We've had a lot about prices. We've had nothing about security of supply. We have a medium and long and shorter term solution. I mean, we have things we could do short term in terms of encouraging the reopening of the rough gas storage facility, for example.
Because we have is it 2 days gas storage?
No, those discussions are taking place, I understand, between Centrica and government. It requires a price, of course, to reopen. It was not insignificant. There are other issues such as short-term about having a auction system so that major gas users can actually decide to come offline before a blanket gas emergency is announced. This is all short-term stuff. And there's also the possibility of changing the notices period that apply to gas emergencies and gas alerts. On the electricity front, similar kind of precautions could be made in terms of electricity supply. And what we haven't had at all is any kind of public information program being put out by government about what ordinary things, not scaremongering, but what ordinary sensible things people could do to help curtail overall demands for both gas and electricity.
You put out last week on Conservative Home your sort of rescue package plan and ideas, and it got lots of chat and circulation.
It did. On
Conservative Home and out in the media more broadly, and you're an expert in this field. How much pickup did you get from elected politicians in the Conservative Party?
Very few, in the sense that there's almost like a policy paralysis and a reluctance to talk about the sorts of issues. What kind of policy do we need? Only recently, Rishi Sunak has come out and said, I'm going to make energy more secure. I'd like to know what that means. We'd like something more coherent, more strategic. Both short-term and medium-term. For example, in today's announcement, there's nothing about supply. In fact, on the contrary, if Labour's plan were to be implemented, even more taxation on major investors who we want to invest in gas storage and in gas supply, fracking, and also North Sea would be deterred. And what would happen to, I mean, it sounds good, but it would take longer than 6 months. The volatility in wholesale prices is going to continue beyond that point. And it's the great British public, or the consumers, who are going to have to actually spend money, actually going to have to pay for this, because it's essentially underpinning suppliers, but it's consumers who will eventually have to pay either through a higher energy costs or taxation. And this could go on for 10, 15 years. So it's a very dangerous precedent to intervene in the energy market retail, especially when you don't control wholesale prices, and try and use it as a tool for welfare policy. Yeah. What we should do is focus on the very people who need it, and use the welfare system, the universal credit system. Should not be beyond the capability of Treasury and the DWP to come up with some form of energy support payment model, system, which could actually allow people on demand to effectively get the grants. I'm talking grants, not loans.
Yeah, I mean, what Starmer's done today is a sort of big blanket thing, but it does have simplicity and reduce people's fears without really solving the problem.
Yeah, but we have confusion at the moment. We have intervention in the general market through VAT and through so-called rebates on suppliers' prices at £400. And then we have Rishi Sunak has said he's going to have a separate £650 within the credit system. I would effectively take away all those general blanket things which benefit all consumers and target it much more specifically at what could well be 2 million households who are really going to be suffering in the next 6 months.
Or more.
And give them grants and give them directly through the credit system, through the universal credit system, or through the direct system that could be available. We did it under the pandemic. We can do it now. It's a bit like having a sort of a energy security payment app. But something needs to be done on that. But in the longer term, we have to address supply.